soften. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Welcome to Death Valley, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, site of the 2023 LSU spring game. You could not ask for better weather and a better attitude for this program after coming off a 10-win season under Coach Brian Kelly in year number one. Jaden Daniels and company are back, and they are ready to make another run at the SEC championship game. We've got a spring game. And we are glad to be with you. He is the former Georgia quarterback, all SEC performer Aaron Murray. I am Mike Morgan. Aaron, you talk about this team last year and what they were able to do in year one. 10 wins and a trip to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. Not many people saw that coming. Coach Kelly and company had other ideas.
No, I mean, if you go back to last season, preseason-wise, a lot of people had them last in the SEC West. I mean, it's the hardest division in all of college football, and they were replacing a lot of weapons. You have a transfer quarterback coming in, brand new coach, trying to rebuild the culture, so no one had any faith in the Tigers. But Brian Kelly, one of the premier coaches in America. Jaden ended up playing tremendous throughout the year. They got talent. They had talent last year. Maybe not the depth, but they had the talent. Now in year two, it's can we build the depth? Can we continue to build the culture? And today is a good opportunity to go out there and show the fans what they got.
We know how it finished, a convincing bowl victory in Orlando against Purdue. It started off a little bumpy, let's be honest. It was a tough, heartbreaking loss to Florida State. A lot of criticism came after that Coach Kelly's way. Oh, but then weeks 2 through 12, things got rolling, particularly in SEC play. 9-1 during that stretch. Wins against a top 10 Ole Miss team. And yes, they beat hated rival Alabama in overtime, 32-31. They go to Atlanta. They lose to the eventual national champion, Georgia Bulldogs. But then they bounce back, win the bowl game 63-7, 10 victories in year number one under Coach Brian Kelly. So then the question becomes, Aaron, how does this team improve upon a great 2022?
Go win the SEC.
There you go.
You made it to the SEC championship in year one. The expectations now is you got there. Go win it this season. And I talked about the West being a little bit difficult last year. I do think there's a lot of question marks in this side of the SEC. But when you look at this roster, honestly, there's not a lot of questions. Once again, they got the offensive line. You got the 2 freshman tackles back. You got running backs. You got a ton of depth at the receiving position. You got the quarterback, tight end, defense, everything. There's nothing that you can ask for on the offensive side. Same thing on the defense. So I think they feel confident. They feel like they've built more depth this offseason. So, yeah, it's you've been there. You got to Atlanta in year one. Now you're probably going to face Georgia again. If you do make it, go out there and go win it this time.
They also have the continuity now in year two. Coach Kelly talked to us yesterday in the coaches' meetings about being physically better and, yes, mentally better. That shock and awe of year number one of a new coach, a new scheme, that's gone. Now this same team that rattled off 10 wins feels better about what they can do in year two under Coach Kelly. And when you talk about Coach Kelly in years 2 and 3, wherever he has been, he has won, and he has won big, to the tune of championships, everything from Division II titles at Grand Valley to conference championships at Central Michigan, Cincinnati, and of course at Notre Dame, 3 playoff appearances. So you just expect Brian Kelly to get better year by year by year. And when you look at all the key players returning, it starts with Jaden Daniels, and Aaron, as a former quarterback, I know you like what Jaden can do.
Oh, I love what Jaden can do, but I want to go to the culture thing first, too, is it takes time to build. It's hard to do that in year one. Guys are trying to figure out, what do I need to do both on and off the field? Now heading into year two for Coach Kelly, it's easy. You've had a full year of buy-in. Now those guys are older. Now they can teach the incoming freshmen. They can teach those guys that have come into the transfer portal. So all of a sudden you have full buy-in from the entire football team. That's why you see the big jump from year one to year two.
The buy-in is there. Brian Kelly is here, and we'll chat with the head coach when we come back from Baton Rouge.
Sure, McDonald's breakfast is good. But getting that McDonald's breakfast 2 minutes before it stops being served, that tastes even better.
I'm your overly competitive brother.
Check.
Psych.
Really? Dude, that's a foul!
And now you're ready to settle a score. And if you don't have the right home insurance coverage, well, you can end up paying for all this yourself. So get Allstate.
Back with you here at Death Valley, Mike Morgan, Aaron Murray, and the head coach of the LSU Tigers, Aaron. Brian Kelly standing by. And Coach, it's already loud in here, which is good. The weather is great. And I know you're excited that there's actually going to be a game played. There was some question marks because you've had so many injuries on the line of scrimmage. You decided this was the way to go.
Yeah, we had a couple of injuries, but it was really lack of, having the players there, because we've got a young group of offensive linemen, and we've got 5 coming in, but they happen to be all freshmen. Remember, this is still a young program in terms of its development, and so that's an area where we've got a lot of young players. They'll be here in June. They're just not here right now.
All right, Coach, I'm going to ask about Jaden. Got to go to the quarterback first. It's great to have experience in that position. Where have you seen him grow this offseason?
Well, I think technically pushing the ball down the field, being more aggressive with the football. I thought at times last year, he kind of, didn't look to be more aggressive with some things. He didn't want to make mistakes. And I think he's at that point now where he sees things a lot clearer and he's a lot more aggressive. And he's put on some weight. You can see already in his arms. I mean, his body is a little bit different. So, that's just maturity.
What about the weapons around him? I know you're very excited about the wide receiver room. You've got potentially an All-American tight end. Just talk about some of the weapons you have on offense.
Yeah, I think, Taylor, Neighbors, Brian Thomas has had a really good spring. Kyron Lacey. I think that there's plenty of guys there that are going to be able to surround him and look, they can make plays. The running back position, Noah Kane's been really good. So I think there's plenty of, obviously playmakers in this league, and you're going to need them in this league, that's for sure.
All right, well, you need guys to defend those playmakers. Harold Perkins splashed into the scene last year as a freshman. Where is he developed as a linebacker? Not just a guy that can get after the quarterback, but someone you can put in coverage as well.
Well, I think just, understanding where he fits in the defense. We kind of moved him around and try to get his athleticism on the field and maybe didn't spend as much time on the position itself. Now he clearly understands where he fits at that will linebacker position. So, understanding coverages, down and distance, things of that nature, I think that's where he's really made great strides this spring.
Coach, we know not all the freshmen are going to be able to participate today, but certainly we'll have our eyes on some key guys. Who are some of the ones you are hoping that will flash today?
Well, you'll see right away in special teams, Kyle Parker, number 12. He's a freshman wide receiver that also has return skills for us. And if you obviously watched us last year, that was an area that we weren't very good at. So he's going to come in and have an opportunity to compete right away there. Number 11, Jackson Howard at the jack position. Big, long, rangy defensive lineman, defensive end that I think has really had a great spring that's going to get a chance to play a little bit of football for us as well. That's one guy on each side of the ball. I think it'll be fun to watch those guys.
All right, when we watch your team today and then we get ready for the season, watch them this season, as a fan, what can they expect to say, okay, that is a Brian Kelly-led football team from year 1 to year 2?
Well, first of all, playing smart, playing disciplined, not beat yourself, and give yourself a chance to win when you get to the fourth quarter, and have the confidence in your, ability that you can, in fact, go and win football games, whether it's on the road or here at Tiger Stadium.
Coach, we appreciate you inviting us into your house here today. I could not ask for better weather and a better environment. Thank you so much.
Well, that's what we do. We aim to please. We're hospitality.
No humidity.
Right here. Absolutely.
Yeah,
First-class weather all the way. I love it. Thank you,
got it.
Coach.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Head coach Brian Kelly getting ready. Again, the first 30 or 40 minutes will be some scrimmaging. We'll be working out on some special teams, and eventually we will get to 11 on 11. And not thud, actual tackling, Aaron, which I think the fans will be glad to see.
Well, you have to. That's always the worry. Spring. You want to stay healthy. If you ask most coaches, their biggest worry is getting banged up during these 15 practices. You want the team feeling great heading into summer to get ready for fall camp where the real grind begins. But you also want to get going. You have to start figuring out some of these position battles. How physical can our team be? And you ask most of these coaches still in a game now that is a lot of 11 personnel. So 3 receivers, a tight end, a back, all the throwing, the athletic quarterbacks. Games are still won at the line of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line. So yes, you got to get physical in these practices. So we're going to see mostly tackling to the ground. Obviously stay away from the quarterback zone.
Special teams will be coming up, and then some offense as well, including starting quarterback Jaden Daniels. Stay tuned. More to come here on the LSU Spring Game.
Sure, McDonald's breakfast is good. But getting that McDonald's breakfast 2 minutes before it stops being served, that tastes even better.
I'm your overly competitive brother.
Check.
Psych.
Really? Dude, that's a foul!
Now you're ready to settle a score. And if you don't have the right home insurance coverage, well, you can end up paying for all this yourself. So get Allstate.
Back with you here on the field at Death Valley. Mike Morgan, Aaron Murray, working the wireless mics here today, so we're kind of all over the place. Just had a chance to talk with Coach Kelly on the field. And Aaron, of course, when we talk about this offense, it all started with Jayden Daniels. We knew Jayden Daniels was great at Arizona State, but there's always that kind of cynicism, okay, but can you do it in the SEC? I think he answered a lot of the doubters last year.
Oh, he definitely answered all the doubters last year. We know he was athletic. And Coach Kelly said at times you could see a little bit of a hesitation throwing the football because he trusted his athleticism. If I don't know the playbook as well as I need to, well, shoot, I'm a heck of an athlete. Let me just take off and run it when in doubt. This year, a lot more command of his footwork, more command of the offense, can get through his reads. That's where it starts. You talked to the coaching staff yesterday. It was all about footwork, getting in the right spot to take your eyes in the right direction. So I'm expecting big things from him. You're going to see him run the football, of course. He's too good of an athlete not to allow him to beat him. But if he can upgrade throwing the football, trusting his receivers down the field, he's got the receivers, he's got the arm talent. You may be talking about one of the better quarterbacks in this league this season.
Yeah, like you said, everybody knows he can run. In fact, he set LSU single-season quarterback records with rushing yards, 885, touchdowns with 11. He led the team with 186 carries. I'm not sure if that's going to be the goal this year. They feel like with their stable of backs, maybe he will run a little bit less, throw the ball a little bit more, especially, Aaron, to that talented wide receiver group.
Well, it's a talented receiver group, and obviously an offensive line, too, that's returning 2 young tackles, both freshmen last year, so they feel like they're going to be able to give their quarterback time to sit in the pocket, get through his reads. But, Mike, you alluded to it. These receivers, they look great right now. They're big, they're physical. They look like LSU receivers, the guys that are going to get drafted in the first and second round here in the next couple of years. So you got Neighbors back. Malik Neighbors, who's an absolute stud, is going to be your number one. Brian Thomas has had maybe the best spring of all these receivers, and they're really excited about him. Long, lanky, rangy guy, can win those one-on-one battles on the outside. Really has taken his game to another level this offseason. So you build around them. You got Mason Taylor at the tight end spot as well. They got everything questioned right now. They got all the questions answered. They got to build some depth at offensive line, but that starting 5 is going to be pretty good to protect Jayden.
Yeah, they always seem to have guys at wide receiver who look like they're ready to play on Sunday, and that's no exception with number 8 and number 11, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas back at wideout, in addition to, as you heard Coach Kelly mention, some talented freshman wide receivers in Kyle Parker and Jalen Brown. We haven't even talked much about the tight end yet. Unfortunately, he's not going to play today, but Mason Taylor has got a chance to be an absolute game breaker on offense. You're talking about a young man with terrific bloodlines. Father Jason, of course, played in the NFL with the Miami Dolphins, a Hall of Famer. His uncle is Zach Thomas, also a former Dolphin. But when you're talking about 86, Mason Taylor, Aaron, you're talking about a guy who's a matchup nightmare.
All right, 6'5", 240, 245, and we've really seen the game of football continue to evolve. We went from a game where more pro-style set, 21 personnel, 2 backs, a tight end, 2 receivers. All of a sudden, you're seeing 11 personnel, so you add another receiver. And then really the really good teams across the country have incorporated more 11 or 12 personnel where you even get 2 tight ends on the field. Create some matchups because it is so difficult for a defense to say, do I have a guy that's athletic enough to match up with a tight end one-on-one in coverage, a linebacker or a safety, not like a guy like Mason. So year 2 with him, you get the comfort level with your quarterback. I expect to see him move around this offense. Could he be split backside one-on-one? It really does a great job of giving the quarterback an indicator, man, zone, to be able to get through his reads as well. It is, I think, in today's game, you see it in the NFL too with guys like Travis Kelce, one of the ultimate chess pieces when you have a tight end, that can act as a receiver, gives you a lot of matchup nightmares.
Well, those are some of the proven commodities, but of course, with LSU, you're talking about a team that always excels in recruiting, and now in the era of the portal, they went heavy in the portal. A dozen newcomers, including Aaron Anderson, the Alabama transfer. Got Jalen Brown. Jalen Brown is going to help bolster that line, and Get Trey Holly. Trey Holly is a guy that we've heard a lot about during this spring because they haven't had a whole lot of running backs that were healthy enough to go. You've had Noah Cain and you've had Trey Holly, so we're going to see a lot of number 25 today, and I think fans are excited to see what they've got in Trey Holly.
Yeah, well, he's taking advantage of the reps he's been given. They've been extremely banged up at that running back spot, and was going to be the question of, how much of a spring-like game are we going to see because of some of the lack of depth at the offensive line position, which they feel good about coming in this summer, but also the running back spot as well. Noah Cain's been great. Really worked on his flexibility this offseason, which has allowed him to be more versatile in the backfield, catching the ball, and also more explosive as well. So someone to keep your eye out for this afternoon in this game is Noah Cain for sure, and really moving up the depth chart to get a lot more touches come next season. Like you said, Trey Holly, though, as well. Explosive running back, taking advantage of the reps that he's been given this spring because of the injuries. Now it's an opportunity to come out here on this beautiful day and play some football.
A lot of talented players on the defensive side of the ball as well. We'll hear about them when we come back from Baton Rouge. LSU Spring Game 2023.
To the people who reach into a carton of warm, crispy, golden, perfectly salted McDonald's world-famous fries and return with just one. Who are you, and how do you do that? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I'm your overly competitive brother.
Check.
Psych.
Really? Dude, that's a foul!
Now you're ready to settle a score. And if you don't have the right home insurance coverage, well, you can end up paying for all this yourself. So get Allstate.
Oh, yeah, Mike the Tiger brings us back in. No relation, Mike Morgan, Aaron Murray, back with you at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. On a picture-perfect Saturday afternoon. We talked about the offense. How about the defense? It all starts with number 4, Harold Perkins. I don't know if you could have a much better freshman campaign. He had 4 sacks in one game against Arkansas. He had 72 tackles, 7.5 sacks overall, 13 tackles for loss. There were times where he was clearly the best athlete on the field, Aaron.
I mean, he just completely flashed onto the scene last season. His speed from sideline to sideline at the linebacking spot. I mean, you would see him hawk down quarterbacks. You'd see him hawk down running backs. One of the most versatile guys on that side of the football. And now the fact that they've worked really hard about teaching him the position of linebacker. It's no longer see ball, get ball. And those instincts are still going to be shown throughout the season. He's just too darn athletic. But learning how to play the position, getting into coverage, reading concepts from offenses, understanding personnel groups, understanding formations and what may come from that, really becoming a full linebacker. You put that and that education that he's gone through for the past 4 or 5 months with that athleticism, you're talking about the best linebacker in the SEC heading into next season.
I don't think you get a whole lot of argument there, and he's not alone. I mean, he's got help. You talk about Omar Spates. You talk about some of the guys on the defensive line who we won't necessarily see today. Makai Wingo, of course, spearheading the 4-man front. The secondary is going to be a little bit questionable with some newcomers, but overall, 1 through 22, they like what they have on the defensive side.
Oh, they love. And you brought up Omar Spates, and the transfer that's come in has been a complete wrecking ball as a linebacker, being able to be physical, get downhill, be that run stuffer, a veteran presence there to go along with Harold Perkins. They love those 2 linebackers playing the Mike and Will spot in your base defense. Obviously, you're going to move Harold around in third down situations to get him after the quarterback, but they're a little inexperienced in the defensive back situation right now, but they feel really, really good with guys like Devin Harris, J.K. Johnson, Toviano, a freshman who they think is going to be a stud at the nickel spot as well. And then Greg Brooks, number 3, who had a great year last year, both in the run and pass game. So the talent is there. It's always there when it comes to LSU. It's a matter of just getting those guys fully bought into the culture. And once they do that, from D-line to defensive backfield, they feel pretty confident about this unit.
You mentioned Toviano. He is going to play today, and he is certainly a freshman they are pumped up about in the secondary as you look at some of the top returners for the LSU defense with Perkins, Penn, and Brooks. One guy we didn't talk about as well is Mason Smith, and of course he was out last year after an SEC all-freshman team performance in 2021. He had the ACL injury. They expect to have him back, and certainly he's going to play a huge role as well.
Well, 6'6", 310, you would love to get him in the field to be able to be that guy that can eat up double teams, and they said if this was fall camp, could probably go no problem. He's been able to practice this year sparingly, or this spring. They want to make sure, obviously, he's 100% come this season, but full confidence that you will see number 0 playing week 1 versus Florida State. And you get him, letting those linebackers run around freely because of the ability to eat up those double teams. That's a scary thing.
Mentioned the secondary, and that was an issue at times last year, and they've got some newcomers coming in to help things out. Denver Harris, a transfer from Texas A&M, and J.K. Johnson, a transfer from Ohio State. Talking to Coach Kelly yesterday, he believes that J.K. Johnson has a chance to be as talented as anyone at his position in the SEC.
I think both of them, between Harris and Johnson, 2 long 6-foot corners, which you love, rangy guys that can get into press coverage, which they're going to want to do, play a lot of man-to-man on the outside. You need that physicality to be able to get in the face of a receiver. It's all about just buying into what Coach Kelly's doing and the culture-wise, and if they can do that and show him that and practice the right way, I think you're talking about 2 guys. Obviously, you look at what they came out of at a high school, all-American type bodies, all-American type athleticism. They put it together. They're going to be a dangerous duo on the outside.
Hey, we cover all the bases here on the SEC Network. Don't think we forgot about special teams. That's another area that fans are used to seeing LSU excel in, and this year won't be any different. All they got to do is catch the ball.
That's the biggest issue.
Coach Kelly expressed that that was an issue last year, but they believe with Kyle Parker, who you heard Coach Kelly talk to us about moments ago, Aaron Anderson, and then you start with a punter in Jay Bramblett. I mean, he's a game changer, the transfer from Notre Dame.
Well, it's just catching balls. That's it. Something you work on every single day in practice, just catching punts, catching kickoffs. That hurt them week 1. A couple punts muffed that turned to turnovers against Florida State. Hurt them versus first game here versus Tennessee, last season. So little things, and when we talk about Coach Kelly playing good fundamental football, it starts with special teams. You said don't forget about that unit. So if they can just field punts, they're already going to be better than what they were last year.
And that's part of the mental game as well. And let's be honest, I mean, that was one of the things when Coach Kelly got here. It was to kind of get that back on track and to make sure the focus is there. And that's always most challenging in year 1, but year 2, everybody on the same page now, a little bit less strenuous for the coaching staff.
A little bit, because now all of a sudden you have guys that were sophomores and juniors last year that have what Coach Kelly talked to us about is putting paint on the car. You put the first layer of paint on, the guys get it. Now all of a sudden come year 2, the majority of your players are back. You're putting on that second layer of paint. So, putting into their brains the way that we do things the right way, both on and off the field. It doesn't take, like I said, 1 coat of paint. It takes 2, it takes 3, it takes 4. So the longer you get these guys in the building with the same coaching staff, learning the same fundamentals, learning the same plays on both sides of the football, the stronger the football team is going to be at the end of the day. So he loves his veteran guys. He loves his juniors and seniors. Said those guys have done a great job of bringing in these freshmen and bringing in these transfer guys to get them on board as well.
I want to remind everybody we're seeing some special teams work now. We'll see some red zone work, and then we will get to a full-fledged 11-on-11 scrimmage. So that is something that Coach Kelly was determined to do, because, Aaron, you watched this over the years. I know it was different when you played, even though it wasn't that long ago. It seemed like coaches took spring games a little bit more seriously back then. Now they've kind of taken their foot off the gas a little bit. But he said point blank, look, we need to play some 11-on-11. We need to make sure that the practice and the preparation are on full display in a game-like setting. This is the closest thing you'll get until September.
Well, and the great thing about LSU right now is they are so talented on both sides. You get a pretty good game. I know a lot of people have talked about this spring. Do you want to play against a team that's maybe of a lower division and play a true exhibition game? Well, I think you get no better practice than going against the 4- and 5-star guys that we're going to see on both sides of the football today here for LSU. So, this is a good test for a lot of position battles.
Yeah.
Spots that you don't know if you're 100% heading into the fall camp with. You put those guys in a situation today, and you also work situational football. I love the fact that they're starting with red zone right away. That's a big part of them making improvements from last year.
We will also see ones versus ones, not tilting the scale, 1 versus 1 at some point as well. When we come back, how about some 11-on-11, folks, here from Baton Rouge?
You have all the ingredients for this in your fridge. But ask yourself this. Of all the times you've made it at home, has it ever tasted like our McMuffin? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I'm your overly competitive brother.
Check.
Psych.
Really? Dude, that's a foul!
And now you're ready to settle a score. And if you don't have the right home insurance coverage, well, you can end up paying for all this yourself. So get Allstate.
Of quarterbacks, they each were born to take this stage. Only question is, which team believes enough to take them? The NFL Draft begins April 27th on ESPN and ABC.
It's an NFL draft, of course. It's going to have a lot of SEC representation, especially at the top with some of those quarterbacks, including Bryce Young and Will Levis. LSU's always got some high draft picks coming up, and of course this year will be no difference. Ojulari going to be one of the top linebackers selected. It was an uneven year and off-season for Kayshon Boutte. We'll see how that winds up in the end. Roy, Ward, Bradford, all expected to go in the top 200, Aaron. What sticks out to you about this list?
B.J. Ojulari on the outside. This game is turned into, can you protect the quarterback? Especially these quarterbacks can get paid $50 million a year. And then can you get after the quarterback? And B.J.'s the guy that's explosive off the edge, very nimble, very flexible. You can move around the defensive line as well. So I expect him to go there somewhere in those first 2 rounds as projected. Kayshon's an interesting one because really weird season last year.
You could say that.
On the starting lineup, not on the starting lineup, playing, not playing. Had some issues heading into the bowl game, but obviously extremely talented. You saw a little bit of that versus Georgia in the SEC championship game. Caught a ball, split some safeties, and took it for about a 40-yard touchdown. That talent is there. People will see that and want him on the roster. It's can you make sure he's doing the right thing both on and off the field? That's going to be the question.
Certainly some guys on this roster that'll be NFL bound before too long. Malik Neighbors is only a junior, but you have to think there's going to be some scouts telling him that he's got the skills and the tools to make it the next level next season if he leaves a year early. But what about a guy like Jaden Daniels? Jaden Daniels entering his senior year. You talked about what he needs to do this year to get better. We already know he can run extremely well. They're going to have him throw the ball downfield more this season. What do you want to see, and how do you think the scouts will project him?
Well, athletic, he's got a lot of checkbox. Size-wise, great size, extremely athletic, which is a big thing nowadays. If you want a quarterback, you want a guy that can move. You want a guy that can threaten a defense. You want a guy that can create some explosive plays from within the pocket, then from outside the pocket as well. So if he can demonstrate this season his ability to sit in the pocket, trust his reads, trust his feet, and push the ball down the field. He's got a strong enough arm. I'm watching him in pregame warm-ups. The kid's absolutely spinning it. Worked really, really hard this offseason. They brought in, and he worked with 3D quarterbacks out of California, worked with pretty much everyone on his release. Release looks improved. So, yeah, if he can really just show us his ability to push the ball down the field, he checks off a lot of boxes that you want from what a quarterback should look like in the NFL nowadays.
He's got a pretty talented backup that we'll see later on today as well, and Garrett Nussmeier. He's going to get a lot of snaps. Of course, one guy who won't be draft eligible, and LSU fans are happy about it, it's Harold Perkins, because he's only a true sophomore. And thankfully, the rule in the NFL, you got to be 3 years out of high school now, too. So you've got 2 more years of this kid. The sky is the limit.
Well, he could have been a first-round draft pick this year.
Yes.
I mean, the way he played last season. I mean, we talk about with Mason Taylor on the other side, these tight ends, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, the game has changed a little bit with these athletic tight ends that you can move around. Well, what you need is a guy like Harold Perkins, someone that is physical, that can get in their face, and someone that can run with them down the field as well. So you can move him all over the place. He is someone that is, if you're getting ready for LSU defense, when you're watching their blitz package, it's where is number 40? Is he at defensive end? Is he at middle linebacker? Is he at the will linebacker? We have to make sure our center knows to declare him because he is a pain in the butt getting after the quarterback in blitzing situations.
I got to ask you, since I know you talk about quarterback play all year long, and of course later on today on the SEC Network, SEC Network Plus, the Alabama spring game will take place. How about Bryce Young? I mean, do you think the Panthers take him, number one? B, do you think he's the top pick?
I like CJ, honestly, at 1, but everything right now seems to be indicating that Bryce is going to be that number 1 overall pick, which you talk about skill set wise. If he was just 6'2",
yeah,
you'd be talking about a guy that may be a Pro Bowler in the first couple of years of his career there in the NFL. I do worry about his size a little bit and his durability in the next level. I know there's a lot of protections for quarterbacks in the NFL, and you can't really touch them, but it just hasn't been seen. How many quarterbacks have we seen at 5'10" have success in the league?
Yeah.
Doug Flutie, about it. So
Russell Wilson for a time, but he's a thicker guy.
Yeah, Bryce is on a good day 1. I know he measured in at 203. he's not going to play at 203. He's going to play somewhere more in that 190, 195 range. So that does worry me. But when it comes to playmaking ability, creativeness inside the pocket, arm strength, check. And overall person and leader, I think that's what they did. Yeah, he's one of the best. I mean, guys in the locker room love him. He's infectious personality. So I think he's a winner. I think Frank Wright, the head coach for Carolina, is going to do wonders with him.
All right, I know the answer to this question. You coming out of high school, you were what, 4 or 5 stars, automatic, right? Blue chip, can't miss guy. Well, we found out an interesting stat. This is from Sports Information at LSU yesterday. Since 2010, this was actually, give our credit to the Friends of Athletic unearthing this number. How about 3-star recruits drafted since 2012, drafted into the NFL? LSU, 21 of them. In fact, during that time frame, more of their 3-star guys have gone to the pros than the 5-star guys. So you don't always know. You can't always judge a book by its recruiting cover. Some of the guys out here today that are not 4 or 5 stars are future pros as well.
Well, Brian Kelly said, listen, unless you live in Louisiana and you know the spots to recruit, there's some areas where the big boys aren't going to. They're going to Baton Rouge, or they're going to New Orleans. As we see a nice little touchdown. We talk about red zone efficiency. That's a great way for Jaden to get things started here. But they know where all these places are to go get these guys that aren't highly recruited, that have the potential. Then there is so much blue chip potential here in the state of Louisiana. And the great thing, too, is these kids grow up wanting to go to LSU.
That's Daniels to Neighbors, and that's a combination you're going to hear a lot about this year in the SEC, and there's going to be some SEC defensive backs having nightmares about that combo. They've got a chance to match up and team up for 1,000+ yards and a whole lot of scores.
Well, the one great thing about Jaden at quarterback is you're going to get a lot of single high coverage. So a team's going to look at LSU and say, all right, Jaden ran for a bajillion yards last year. We got to put a safety in the box. We can't let him methodically move the ball down the field. So you put a safety in the box, all of a sudden Malik's going to get some one-on-one opportunities down the field. And, as we talked about, where do we want to see Jaden progress? If he does start to trust those one-on-one matchups and throws the ball down the field, he's got 6'1", 6'2", 6 receivers that can make those one-on-one catches, especially in the red zone. So it comes to Jaden, man. If he trusts his footwork and he trusts his eyes, you're talking about these receivers all having a pretty big year.
And that is what they're working on here. It is the red zone workout. We'll kind of keep our eyes on this and get ready for a true 11-on-11 whole field workout as well, as you look at some of the leading rushers last year in college football at the quarterback spot. And there at the top is Jaden Daniels, who broke all kinds of LSU records rushing the football. There's some good defensive pressure by that LSU defense. That is Ovi Oguafo, the Jack linebacker, the senior. And again, we'll see. It's usually pretty vanilla. It's usually pretty base, Aaron, in spring games. But sometimes these defensive coordinators will allow their guys to get a little extra pressure.
Yeah, just don't hit the quarterback. That's all that matters. Red jersey, stay away from the quarterback. And that's always a hard thing, too, for a quarterback that's as athletic as Jaden is sometimes you want the play to continue because you're like, man, coach, he ain't going to tackle me one-on-one in the open field. But it is an athletic defense. And number 21 right there, Noah Kane getting the first rush of this game. That's someone that we're going to keep our eye on out for the next hour and a half. Want to see his flexibility, want to see that explosiveness that the coaching staff was talking to us about yesterday.
Yeah, the coaching staff told us he's a different player. He's much more shifty. He's much more agile, and that's what they need. He was a very productive back for 3 years at Penn State, but they don't think they saw the best out of Noah Kane last year. They think he'll be better this year.
Well, he's got the size, too. So, I mean, if you put that size with a little bit more quickness and explosiveness to be able to accelerate through the hole, and then the thought of Jaden pulling it as well. I mean, the zone read, which we're seeing a lot of these offenses run, the RPOs, as you just saw right there, where the quarterback has the opportunity to run. He's out there opportunity to hand the ball to the running back, or if he sees linebackers flash inside the hole, able to pull it and throw some route combination on the backside of that, really puts defenses at a bind where all of a sudden if Noah Kane does have that explosion, that extra step of burst this season, all of a sudden he's hitting that line when you got linebackers saying at 4 or 5 yards because they're not sure exactly what Jaden's going to do with the football.
And again, it's been mostly Noah Kane and Trey Holly getting the carries in spring practice due to injuries. And, of course, John Emery's situation still unstable in terms of what his future looks like. Daniels backing up as he throws and will Oh, that one actually into coverage, but incomplete. Intended on the play. Looks like Neighbors was out there. No, that's 15. Sage Ryan. Sage Ryan on the coverage.
It was a good start for the offense. First play, touchdown right away. But as we know, it is difficult to score in the red zone, especially when you get some talented DBs on the back end. And, your quarterback's not really live. So a lot of those times he'd be able to run around, create some more time for his receivers to get open in the end zone.
Now we got to see Jaden Daniels. Now we'll get to see some Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier is one of those guys who could start, Aaron, for a lot of college football teams. But as he stands right now, they're lucky to have him as the number 2 guy.
Yeah, it's someone that you never know, especially with a running quarterback. The thing that you always worry about is injury. And we got to build some depth at the quarterback spot. And he's a guy, too, year 2 in the system. And when we talk about with Jaden, it's funny talking with the coaching staff, they're like both quarterbacks are very different when it comes to their footwork. Jaden's a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical. Garrett is a little bit too fast through his reads. He gets through his reads too fast. All of a sudden he gets stuck and then has to, essentially try to be creative with the football. They try to slow him down a little bit this offseason, really be eyes on your first read, get off it, go to the second read. Had an opportunity right there to hit his big receiver, Hilton, should have put it in front of him. But if he can slow down his feet, he's got the arm talent, knows the offense better in year 2. He's a great safety valve just in case, knock on wood, Jaden goes down for some reason.
He got some good reps last year in the SEC championship game and in the Citrus Bowl. He's got some good bloodlines as well. His father, Doug Nussmeier, was a quarterback in college, played 5 years in the NFL with the Saints, and a former NFL quarterback coach with the Dallas Cowboys. They'll go empty backfield, 5 wide on this one. Nussmeier taps and fires, completes it at the 6, and wrestled out of bounds. That's Nicholas, Javen Nicholas, the redshirt freshman out of New Orleans.
And those passes, when it looks like it's so easy just to throw a flat route to a receiver, the key is putting it on essentially the chest heading towards the sideline. Let him catch it, turn upfield, get a couple extra yards. Nice pinpoint accuracy from Garrett.
You talked about some of the things that Garrett needs to work on, slowing things down a little bit mentally. What about the arm talent? Do you like what you see there?
Oh, man, the arm talent is up there with anyone in the league, and a great job right there for him getting through his reads, really working full field. And that's the one thing that Coach Kelly talked about yesterday with us, too, is he sees the entire field. And I think that sometimes that is, causes him to be a little bit lazy with his footwork because his eyes are all over the place. But great job right there, going from right to left, and then finding really his 4th or 5th read with the running back coming out of the backfield there to just get something to give his guys an opportunity to get in the end zone. But I think for him, young quarterback last year, quarterback competition, you're trying to make a name for yourself. You try to do a little bit too much, and he put the ball in danger. And that's the first rule for all quarterbacks is take care of the football. If I can't trust you to take care of it, I'm not going to put you on the field. He has to earn the trust of his quarterbacks or his coaches this offseason.
There was Trey Holly on that last reception. So we go back to the first team now. And Jaden Daniels, the red zone defense picking it up here of late after that first touchdown surrendered, the combination of Daniels and Malik Neighbors.
A little backed up. I love the situational football. You work some red zone, now you work some backed up offense.
This is the least favorite spot on the field for a quarterback, right, Aaron?
No, my mentality was, Coach, let me call a little play action pass, get those safeties to bite up, and I get a nice little 98-yard touchdown. That's what I get excited about. Some people say we got 98 yards to go. I say that's 98 yards in the stat sheet with a touchdown.
We'll see if Jaden Daniels can take the roof off as well here.
Tell you what, Mike, it's great to be on the sideline for these games, get behind the quarterback, really get to see just how big and physical both sides of the football are for LSU.
Yeah, I'm glad they let us out of the broadcast booth for this one. A lot better, more action down here on the field on a beautiful day. Reception made that time by Kyron Lacey. Coach Kelly told us he's really grown emotionally. He's a better player mentally this year, expecting him to have a improved campaign. Last year he had 24 grabs, 268 yards.
Well, the size for this receiving unit's impressive. Guys that are all have the ability to go win that press coverage on the outside.
Daniels Coxon fires, deep ball downfield. That's the play you wanted to see, Aaron Murray, but the throw was a little bit out of the reach that time for Chris Hilton.
Just a little bit too long, but the same thing we talked about with Garrett. It was good to see him use his eyes and footwork, pump the safety to the middle of the field, get that guy to move, knowing you got one-on-one to the left side, and then puts it in his spot. Just trust it. I think the more times you get to see him throw the ball down the field, and talking with the OC Denbrock, they put him in a lot of situations this spring where he felt uncomfortable, plays that maybe he hasn't run well in the past. Get the reps, get the film, and then go back and watch it.
Now it's Nussmeier from inside his own 5-yard line. Holly had the carry and was tripped up right away.
That's Harold Perkins in the speed to diagnose the play at the will linebacking position. He sees the pulling offensive line. He knows it's run and immediately uses that speed of his to get downhill to make the tackle. I mean, it happens in a split second. Watching from here down the field, just how fast number 4 is.
Perkins, who grew up in Houston, then family was relocated after Hurricane Katrina. Originally from New Orleans. Little pass out in the flat, caught by Lacey. Lacey breaking a tackle past the 20 and down to the 23-yard line. Zy Alexander on the tackle.
Oh, that was one of those RPOs we talk about when the quarterback has opportunity. You see the defensive end pull or essentially come down the running back. Then you got a two-way option. I can run the ball as a quarterback, and better yet, let me get the ball to a speedster in space. Nice, easy throw in the flat. Let Lacey do his thing once he hits the sideline.
They have a deep, deep wide receiver room. This LSU offense does. There's so many different weapons that they have. It goes beyond just Neighbors and Thomas. Nussmeier from his own end zone. All kinds of time. Now rifles one over the middle. Complete. Catch is made. That is by the tight end, Jackson McGowan. McGowan, a freshman out of the state of Ohio.
It's a great job by Noah Kane. You're going to see a little bit of a cross-dog blitz from the inside, and Noah Kane steps up and takes on Harold Perkins one-on-one in the hole. And then Garrett does a great job staying alive, keeping his head up, his feet nice and patient, but really has the protection up front. That's not an easy blitz to pick up with those linebackers coming on that cross-dog blitz. Once again, Noah, we talked about his versatility, really showing his strength right there, picking up the blitz, giving his quarterback just another couple clicks to find the open tight end down the seam.
27-yard reception. Biggest offensive play of the game. Are you surviving the sound of the band right behind you?
I love this. It feels good to be on the field once again. You're going to have to keep me from going out there and throwing the football.
You never got a chance to play in Death Valley, did you?
No. They came to us my senior year. But, that's the sad thing about the schedule we have, and luckily it's going to change next season. Never played Alabama in a regular season game. Never had an opportunity to come to Baton Rouge, which would have been awesome to play in this incredible stadium. It would have stunk because it's loud, that's for sure. It would have been a pain in the butt, but also pretty darn cool.
It certainly sounds like we're heading in the direction where that is going to change, where if you stay for 4 years, you're going to get a chance to play everybody. I think that's a win-win for the players and the fans. Little pitch play to the near side. And tripped up at the 7. It's more Trey Holly, who is the all-time leading rusher in the state of Louisiana. Exceptional visit. Low to the ground, stocky. And they believe in time Trey Holly could be a star. Again, no Mason Taylor here today. That'll be a big part of the weaponry for this offense, and they're also missing a lot of running backs. We're going to see Noah Kane, we're going to see Trey Holly, but not many of the other guys who you'll see get some of the workload of carries this season. On play action, deep ball, near side, one-on-one coverage. Pass looked like it was on target, but unable to reel it in was Chris Hilton. You had a better viewpoint than I did on that one, Aaron. I thought from here, I'm looking at a sun-splashed screen. I thought from here it looked like it was a pretty good throw. Let's see on the replay. Yeah, that's right off his fingers. Denver Harris was on the coverage. Nussmeier still in at quarterback. Flushed out left side. Heavy heat. And we'll just throw it away at Swinson breathing down his neck. Aaron Murray's got a famous LSU alum and one of our pals at the SEC Network.
Yeah, I got Marcus Spears down here with me enjoying the spring game right now. Good to be back in Baton Rouge.
It's always good, man, especially when it's 78 degrees.
Oh, I know. This is perfect. Who we got down here?
This is my little nephew, Pop, man. Pop, tell the people what's up.
What's up?
Future Tiger right here. Again, he's on a little bit of a recruiting visit. All right, you get to the West, you get to the SEC Championship year one with Brian Kelly. How confident do you feel in him?
I love what he did, man. I think when coaches can stay true to themselves and kind of have a plan that they're confident in, it travels, right? And the big talk was coming to the SEC with the Notre Dame type of system work. He found players, plugged in pieces, and people didn't realize LSU lost a lot of guys when he was coming into this job. So I think it was a phenomenal job. And you know, Aaron, like you played in this conference, getting to the SEC championship is very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
So for him to do that year one was awesome, man.
Well, especially in the West, man. That is a gauntlet to get through. To beat Alabama in the overtime game was special. The talent, though, in this state, and talk about that, we know it's a talented state, but these kids, they want to go to LSU. They don't want to go to Bama or any of those spots.
It flipped, man. Like 2001, our class, it flipped. And a lot of kids really start paying attention to being home, this crowd. You done played in this stadium before? No. Okay, you haven't. So a Saturday night usually gets you, right? And it's like that across the SEC, but this place is special. And I think now that you have a winner and a program where you can win national championships, it changed everything about how the recruiting went.
That is a one-handed catch by Kyron Lacey. Play of the game thus far, the senior Kyron Lacey. 70-plus yards. Beautiful grab. That's some of that Marcus Spears voodoo right there.
Well, it looks like another LSU Tiger receiver from back when I played out there making one-handed catches left and right. Hey, it's like a receiver you hear. That's a big play, but really not for this crowd. They see that year in and year out.
It's a normal thing, man. Even our big fellas can catch. So, yeah, there's a lot of talent coming through here on the outside.
All right, last one before we let you go. Jaden Daniels, what do you want to see from him year two?
Just continue to progress, man. Obviously, he's a super athlete. That's the way the game is going now. But when he has a chance to take those shots like he just took, take them with confidence and don't second guess it. Because you know, quarterback, at some point, it's going to come down to your arm and timing. And that's the progression you want to see him make.
That was a good start right there. Jaden throwing that thing all over the park. Appreciate it, Marcus, man. Enjoy the day. Pops, future Tiger. All right. Good to see the receivers making plays for LSU. We talk about that size. We talk about the athleticism. It's all the question of, does the quarterback trust to throw it down the field? We've seen some big-time throws and big-time plays from both quarterbacks to start the scrimmage off.
I thought when you interviewed Marcus Spears, it was going to be a big-time defensive play. Instead, the play of the game comes on the offensive side, a 70-yard touchdown pass. Great stuff, Aaron, with Marcus Spears, our cohort at the SEC Network at ESPN. By the way, as we get ready for the actual true scrimmage here, we'll go through some of the rules and scoring. It's going to be essentially offense versus defense. The scoring on offense is pretty much what you would imagine: 7 for a touchdown, 3 for a field goal. Defensively, a turnover, that's a 7-point gain. If you can pick up something on defense, that's a turnover. 2 points for a PBU. Even get points for a missed field goal. 5 points for a missed field goal. 1 point for a sack or tackle for loss, something that Marcus Spears knew plenty about back in his playing days.
We just got to know if there's beanie weenies and a filet mignon dinner on the line for this afterwards.
That's right.
Offense or defense, depending on who wins the day with these points. But right now, offense making some plays, which is exactly what this crowd wants to see. They want to see their quarterback throw the ball down the field. One-handed catches like Odell back in the day.
There's Jordan Allen on that last tackle. One of the many defensive backs that are fighting for playing time as they continue to figure out what the depth is going to look like there. A 3rd down and 6.
Man-to-man coverage.
Nussmeier out of the gun. Pocket collapsing. Nussmeier. And the defense wanted a sack. Jackson Howard says, hey, man, I got him. You can't bring him down to the turf, but he says, I got the contact, which would be the sack, which would be a point for the defense.
Yeah, freshman defensive end, man-to-man coverage. You saw the safety roll down, and great job by the secondary. Little twist-in stunts on the defensive line, just enough to be able to get to the quarterback. And the freshman, Jackson Howard, did a great job. Run by the quarterback, let the play continue. That's the one good thing about scrimmages. Even if you get the sack, you know you got it. Let's continue to get the receivers and DB some work down the field as well. And then also, allow your quarterback to show off throwing the ball on the run.
I'll actually get a chance to see some of the special teams. Again, first-string punter Jay Bramblett is special, the transfer from Notre Dame. It's Clayton back to receive. 43 yards on the punt, no return. We talked about the issues they had simply catching the ball, and those are game-changing plays. And LSU, Aaron, was on the wrong side of the ledger on those plays last year.
I mean, just go back to that Florida State game, for goodness sakes. I mean, you have an opportunity to win that game if you field some punts and take care of it. Then obviously the miscommunication on the extra point blocking, you allow a guy to run right through to block it. You end up losing the game to Florida State when you had an opportunity to put in overtime. But they believe that you catch a couple of those punts and don't make some mental mistakes, they win that game week 1. And all of a sudden you beat Florida State, and you're off to the races to start the season off. So they're hungry to make some, get that revenge this season with Florida State week 1, and they got to be better when it comes to the special teams.
Daniels in the first team, back out onto the field. Again, back to actual 11-on-11 scrimmage rules here from the 22-yard line. This is Lacey, and Lacey, the wide receiver, getting a chance to carry the rock out to the 26.
Oh, Lacey fielded himself a little bit after the one-handed catch for these receivers.
Lacey's a transfer from Louisiana Lafayette. Originally out of Thibodaux High School in Louisiana. Now a 3-yard gain sets up a 2nd down and 7. Daniels out of San Bernardino, California. The transfer from Arizona State, now in his 2nd year starting under center for LSU. Plenty of time in the pocket. Missiles one complete at the 32-yard line. That's Brian Thomas, the 6'4 junior out of Walker High School in Louisiana.
I can't tell you how impressed I am with Noah Kane right now. Once again, same thing, man-to-man coverage, and you're going to see his ability to pick up the blitz and meet the defender in the hole to give his quarterback the opportunity to get through his reads, find his 3rd read on that crossing route. But it's been him versus Harold Perkins over and over again in pass protection. He's winning that battle right now.
That could be a quarterback's best friend, right? A running back that's willing to pick up the tough block. Neighbors on another reception, caught the touchdown earlier, and that one inside the 30. Out to the 29, a 27-yard gain. It was Tobiano on the coverage.
A great job by Jaden putting the ball into the running back's belly. You see him get a little bit lower too, riding it to the line of scrimmage, seeing those linebackers, aggressive speedster linebackers. All you need them to do is take 1 or 2 steps forward. In that skinny post right behind them, you're going to have enough to get it up and over for the big completion.
Daniels off to a good start, looking for more here. Tight window, and somehow completes it, threads the needle to Malik Neighbors.
And that's a great matchup. I'm going to love to watch that today. Neighbors versus Devin Harris on the outside. And he was all over him, but the rhythm and the timing of that throw from Jaden, he hit his back foot, quick hitch, put it on the outside exactly where it needed to be. Defenders all over it, but when you throw it with that kind of accuracy, no chance.
Mentioned Denver Harris on the coverage, the transfer from Texas A&M. Sets up a 2nd down in the yard. Daniels rifles to the 25. Again, it's Chris Hilton on the completion. So Hilton and Neighbors have been the top 2 targets here in the early going.
I'll tell you what, Jaden just looks so confident in this offense. The timing, the rhythm. Obviously, it's great knowing that you're not going to get hit, but still, he's getting the ball out on time.
Daniels 6 for 6 for 116 yards. Offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock said he will understand the details better this year. Takes a sack on that play, pocket collapsing, and Daniels had nowhere to run. One of the first guys there, you guessed it, number 4, Harold Perkins.
Now, once again, Harold Perkins with the blitz won that battle versus Noah Kane. Then we get to the quarterback.
He's going to win a lot of those battles this year, isn't he?
Yeah, listen, if I'm Noah Kane and I win 70% of the battles versus him, knowing that my quarterback can get out of the few that I lost. And that's good practice for Noah Kane. You're not going to see many better blitzing linebackers in this league than number 4.
Second sack for another point for the defense. Swing pass out to Noah Kane this time. Out in the far flat to the 32-yard line. Spates on the tackle. Omar Spates, who we talked about with Coach Kelly, a senior from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He was a tackling machine at Oregon State. Freshman All-American back in 2019.
Well, Coach kept talking about just how downhill physical he is at the linebacking position, but right there, Harold Perkins-esque being able to hawk down Noah Kane on the swing route right there, showing off that he's not only just a thumper down the field when it comes to run game, but also has that speed from sideline to sideline.
308 tackles in 45 games played. Going for the end zone that time, trying to find Kyron Lacey, but overcooked it a bit on the coverage for the Tigers. Toviano, they're getting a lot of work from the nickel. Toviano, a true freshman from Arlington, Texas, who they have very high hopes for, number 25.
Oh, they're excited about him, and that's a tough thing to ask for a nickel. Nickel's a position nowadays that does get picked on. These receivers in this league, they're not just X's, they're not just Z's, so they're not just outside receivers. You're going to put your best receiver in the slot. You're going to move those guys around and try to take advantage of the middle of the field. So he's going to be asked to do a lot, and they have a lot of confidence with his skill set and his size that even as a freshman, he's an opportunity to play on one of the better defenses in this league.
That was Dybert on the field goal attempt of 46 yards, unable to connect. You got Dybert and Damian Ramos, the two kickers that we'll see here today. Ramos last year was pretty solid for LSU, had a career long of 47-yarder against the Gators in a victory over Florida. I like this so far, Aaron. You and I have done a number of spring games over the years. This actually resembles as close as you can to a game. This is not just skill work and drill work. This is true 11 on 11. They're letting the defenses mix it up a bit. They're actually challenging everybody on the field.
Yeah, and I love the we're not just going to line up and play cover 2 or cover 4 or cover 2. We're actually going to bring some pressure too with these linebackers, which is good work for them. You got to work these blitz packages. The defensive backs have to understand we're going to be in some man-to-man coverage. And also, we can talk about the running backs. It's great for them to continue to practice blitz pickup as well.
First down carry. And burrowing his way for a few is Trey Holly. Give him 5 on the play. It's Ricky Collins is now in a quarterback. They really believe in time. This young man, hometown product out of Woodlawn High School in Baton Rouge, can be special. 6'2", 195 pounds. As the coaching staff described to us, look, the head is still spinning, all right? He's an early enrollee this spring, so he's still learning everything. You know what that's like, Aaron. It takes a little bit of time to get your feet wet.
Oh, the adjustment of speed. I mean, spring ball for a young quarterback. Everything is happening a million miles per hour. You're worrying about your footwork. You're worried about your reads. You're worrying about where to declare the Mike linebacker so you can be protected to put your offensive line in the right spot. And then you're working about all these new exotic defenses that you've probably never seen before. The high school ranks, you see cover 2, you can see cover 3, some quarters, some man. All of a sudden you start seeing quarter halves. You see different blitzes. You see corner catch. You see cross dogs. There's a lot to see. There's a lot going on to digest. So, yeah, you're worried about your fundamentals and everything else. You're just trying to survive these first 15 days, make a couple plays. At the end of the day, man, just play ball. Trust your eyes. You're going to make mistakes. They want to see you make a mistake. They want to see how you bounce back from that. But like you said, Mike, they're excited about what he can do in this program.
3-sport athlete out of high school. He was coached by former LSU quarterback Marcus Randall. To the ground game on 3rd and 3. Another carry for Trey Holly. We told you we'd see a lot of number 25 today. And that'll be good for the first down, so the drive will continue.
Well, the good thing, go back to the quarterback discussion, is a lot of these kids nowadays, I say kids, young men, grow up playing in these offenses and have these great quarterback coaches where they do come out a little bit more ahead of the game. That's why you're seeing more freshmen and sophomores being able to come play the quarterback position where you didn't see that 10, 15 plus years ago.
Heavy pressure, avoiding the sack, and now tap dancing his way to positive yardage is Ricky Collins. Nice job just weaving his way up the gut.
That's risky with Collins not wearing the red jersey. I remember we had a freshman walk-on quarterback, Greg Bingham, back in 2012, told Coach Rick, hey, Coach Rick, I don't need the red jersey. I'll be fine. First play, he starts rolling to the right and gets completely demolished. Boom, he's out for the rest of the game. Coach Bobo looked at us and said, that's why you wear red jerseys.
That's why
you wear red jerseys.
That's right. Sometimes valor is not the best thing. And an interception by the defense. Picked off at the 50. This is Weeks, and Weeks with daylight all the way to the end zone. A pick six. Whit Weeks, the freshman out of Watkinsville, Georgia, scampers for 55 yards and a score on the interception.
We saw Jaden doing a great job with the RPOs, getting those linebackers to bite, to throw that skinny over the top. Right there, misread. Linebackers, they're backing up in coverage. They're not attacking at all. You actually see three guys in that space. That's just a forced throw. That's predetermining, hey, I just saw Jaden make this play. I think the linebackers are going to jump up. You got to read those guys. They start backing up at all. You see those hips turn, boom, ball's in the running back's belly. You're giving it to him, and he's going to get 4 or 5 yards before he even gets touched.
Weeks, a 4-star linebacker, the number 18th ranked linebacker, number 238 prospect overall on the ESPN 300. And now it's going to be Ramos on for the field goal. Ramos 10 of 14 last year. Snap and hold are true, and the kick is perfect. So Damian Ramos puts 3 more on the board. A pick six for the defense. Quarter number 1 in the books here at Death Valley. Beautiful day here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You heard Marcus Spears giving us the weather report. How about 78 degrees, sunshine, blue skies, not very humid, and a breeze. I can't remember the last time we had a breeze down here in Baton Rouge, Aaron.
Oh, man, I think Baton Rouge, muggy, mid-90s, and you and I wearing black polos would be sweating our butts off right now, hoping that we don't have to be on camera because I'd be drenched. But I feel today's a good day to be on the golf course if we weren't here watching a little football.
We are knee-deep in the sunblock, full disclosure. Trying to play it safe here as the sun is shining brightly down upon us. On the field now is Nussmeier. Back on the offense, 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line as we get you set for the second quarter. Holly in the tailback to the left of Nussmeier. Motion man, the tight end Peterson, and it's going to be incomplete. Intended for Kyle Parker. Talked about Nussmeier and the quality work he got in the SEC championship game against Georgia and then in the bowl game as well.
Oh, he looked great in the SEC championship game. He trusts, same thing as last year as this year. They got plenty of receivers, ton of talented receivers. And he's someone heading into the season. A lot of people are talking about, should he be the starter because his ability to push the ball vertically down the field. They trusted the guy that had a little bit more playing experience. Obviously paid off in a big way with Jaden. But there's no doubt, you talk to people in this facility right now, that Garrett can throw the ball with the best of them in this league. It's just a matter of taking care of the football, trusting his feet, not being too fast.
You know what else I like about the Nussmeier story in general, Aaron, is that in this day and age where quarterbacks, if they're not playing, they Nussmeier from the pocket. Deep shot, left side, and a great job of knocking it away at the last second. It's LaTerrence Welch.
And one-on-one, that's what you want as a quarterback. You see the safety go to the middle of the field, you got to go route. That's why you put that receiver on the backside, and Welch matching up one-on-one there with Chris Hilton, stride for stride, being able to get there and knock the ball away.
Punt the football. This guy has a cannon of a leg. The wind is blowing right in his face, trying to angle it toward the sideline. And we are on the other. He accomplished the goal, 43 yards, no return. You'll take that any day of the week. Gonna get some cardio in, go on to the other side of the field. And Aaron's gonna see if he can chat a little with Coach Kelly while this is going on. Brian's been terrific with us for Access the last couple of days. Everywhere
as long as I don't get run over by the offensive lineman, I'll be good to go.
Yeah,
Mike.
you don't want to do that.
I'm
Aaron.
not as nimble as I used to be.
No, and you got good size, but not that good. I don't think you're going to hold up real well on any contact in that matchup. Now Nussmeier stays in at quarterback now, going the other way. Lacey working the slot. And the ball is coming right at us. Deep ball near side. Caught right in front of us here at the 25-yard line. That is Brian Thomas. Could not have gotten a better view of that one, Aaron.
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen, the quarterbacks are letting it rip so far today. And I'm trying to keep up with Coach Kelly. He's in great shape, better shape than I am right now. Jogging down the field. Coach, you got to like these quarterbacks letting it rip.
Yeah, both of them. I thought Jaden was very efficient. The ball came out quickly, pushed it down the field. And, we've been trying to get Garrett in here with the first group, and that's the first opportunity he got, and pushed the ball down the field, too, as well.
We talk about with the coaching staff putting these quarterbacks in unique situations. A lot of these plays, same thing, almost forcing them to put the ball down the field a little bit more.
Well, we've got talented guys, and we've got to let them obviously make plays or they're going to get frustrated. So, these guys can obviously make plays, but it's not just hitches and slants. You got to let them open up a little bit too.
Got to let those horses run. All right, last one, Coach, before we let you go. Who's really surprised you so far in the first half here? Anyone jump out?
Well, I think Agufu, 17, has made our two tackles that started every game in the SEC really work. He's a transfer from Texas. He's done really well for us, and obviously we had a nice interception by Whit Weeks, who's a true freshman, came in with a lot of hype, and he's lived up to it.
Another pass in the flat caught by Brian Thomas, who's been a primary target this drive. It was 47 yards on that long ball that he caught earlier. Aaron, you sound a little more winded than Coach. You okay?
Listen, boys, I'm in good shape. I'm chasing around a three-year-old and a 5-month-old at home. So, I'm nice and nimble right now. It's the talking and running. It's like those Peloton trainers out there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they do 30, 45 minutes on a treadmill or a bike talking nonstop. I just like to focus when I run.
All right, once we're in the middle of a drive, I don't move anywhere. I'd pass of running. I know better.
I got man-to-man coverage again. Got to find his best matchup here for Garrett. See if he can take a shot with these big receivers.
Nussmeier looking near side, throws underneath at the 15, and a catch is made by Kyron Lacey. Had Brooks in on the coverage.
Brian Kelly's not too happy with that tackle right there. You got to be smart in this situation. The guy's out of bounds. Don't take him down to the ground. But we talk about receivers being playing the slot position. You put a guy like Lacey one-on-one against a safety in Greg Brooks, who's great, but has some issues when it comes to size against a bigger receiver like that. You let him go out there and do work on that option route. Easy completion to get inside the 10.
You've got neighbors here at the bottom of your screen, right in front of us. Instead, they will go to the ground game, pushing the pile to about the 7-yard line. It's Noah Kane again, the senior, former Penn State Nittany Lion, former high school Under Armour All-American.
These two linebackers have looked great. That's what's getting Omar Spates coming downhill. Offensive line, they got to do a better job. It's two high safeties. Two high safeties in the red zone. That's green time for the offensive line to tee off to get to the second level to allow the running back to get behind his shoulders. Right now, it looks like if Greg Brooks goes middle field, you do got one-on-one, more two high safety. Think a run here.
Instead, they do a mesh point, play action, and they rifle one into the end zone for a touchdown. Catch made by Brian Thomas from 7 yards out. So neighbor.
That's a great job right there. Get the RPO run pass option puts the ball in the belly. The running back has an opportunity to run it versus that too high safety, but sees the linebacker come up, pulls it, throws it right over for the big receiver, puts his body right between himself and the defensive back. And that's a heck of a drive for Garrett Nussmeier, and I love the fact that one of the first guys to run onto the field was Jaden to go celebrate with his quarterback.
I asked you about Nussmeier's arm talent beforehand. I'd have to say you'd only be more impressed with what we've seen so far.
I'm impressed with both quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They've done a great job this offseason, really figuring out, that's hard for a quarterback coach because you're trying to figure out both quarterbacks, and they're very different, and they found a way to make both those guys better this offseason.
Yeah, nice 1-2. Sure. Let's talk about, speaking of quarterback, Aaron, another good year of quarterback play expected in the Southeastern Conference. Who are the top guys you're looking at?
Man, once again, this SEC, it's funny, 10 years ago, it wasn't known as the quarterback league. Now all of a sudden, you may have 4 or 5 quarterbacks drafted from the SEC this year, and you look at it right now, and I really like KJ Jefferson. When healthy, one of the better quarterbacks in this league, and like I said, probably my favorite quarterback, Jaden Daniels. If he continues to look like he looks today, trusting the throws down the field, love what he's able to do. Spencer Rattler, ton of playing time, more comfortable in year 2 there at South Carolina. We know he's got the talent. Joe Milton is freaky good. We saw it there in the Orange Bowl versus Clemson. Really, I love the fact that he's matured, taking his time, learned a lot from Hendon Hooker. I think he's due for a monster year with the talent they have back at the receiving, and obviously, the offense that they run there at the University of Tennessee. And he actually called me a little bit of a homer on this one, but Carson Beck, my goodness, the talent is there. He's waited his time. They got talent through the roof at receiver. You got the most talented tight end in the country. I think he's due for a huge year as his first year as a first-time starter.
Nice run after catch there by Trey Holly. I noticed no Alabama quarterback on that list.
Man, Alabama quarterbacks are way down the list, and we're going to learn a lot about them this afternoon right after this game. We'll see, Milroe, will he be the starter? Had a lot of playing time last year. Will be Ty Simpson the better of the thrower of the two? What will this offense look like? I think a lot of those questions will be answered this afternoon, but that's going to be a battle that goes on. But, just not a lot of experience with those guys from playing last year, and, don't really know what the offense is going to look like with a new offensive coordinator.
It's hard not to, and I know coaches have to take it one game at a time, but if things go half the way they're expected to go in the Western Division, it looks like we could be on another collision course between LSU and Alabama. They will meet November the 4th in Tuscaloosa. That'll be a revenge game for Alabama. Remember, it was LSU upsetting the Tide last year in a key game that really helped send LSU to the SEC championship game. I can't wait to see that one. I know we're only in April, Aaron, but I'm ready for that game now.
Yeah, they are. Both those teams are really on a collision course, and you want to look ahead to that game. But I know everyone, and that's the great thing about. We talked to Coach Kelly about this. Scheduling Florida State Week 1 is, you have to focus on that game first. You can afford to, playing in this conference, schedule non-conference games like that, which are great for the program. Really makes you focus in the offseason, knowing that you got another top 10, top 15 game to start the season off. So all attention is on that. But yeah, you look afterwards, and no game's easy in the SEC. But really, it's going to be that game there in Tuscaloosa that's going to be a make or break as usual here as we get ready for the last year of the SEC West.
Great coverage by Welch on that throw from Ricky Collins. Yeah, here it seems like we're headed to no divisions in the SEC. What do you think about that?
I love it, man. You get to mix it up a little bit. I think it's great. Brian Kelly, we all saw his comments from it. Maybe a little bit of a jab at good old Nick Saban there, and he's like, man, listen, you come to the SEC to play these teams, to play in these stadiums, to allow the fans to travel to these different stadiums, and he's excited about it. That's why he came to this league. That's why all these kids came here. They want to be able to go to Tuscaloosa, go to Gainesville, go to Athens, go to wherever, and be able to play football games and really mix it up. I think it's good for the fans. I think it's good for the players, the coaching staffs. It's going to make for a better product on the TV as well.
Malachi Lane on that last carry. A lot of the backups now in for this offense. One of the things I like that Coach Kelly told us about the way he was going to handle Garrett Nussmeier, it wasn't just going to be against or with the second team 2s-on-1s. It was going to be some 1s-on-1s work. So he got a chance to work with the top receivers like a Malik Neighbors, like a Brian Thomas. If you want to really gauge how good your backup quarterback is, that certainly goes a long way.
Well, and also the offensive line. We hit on this to start the show, and he talked to us about it a lot yesterday and today is, they don't have the depth right now at O-line, so it's kind of hard to judge a quarterback when he's running for his life and doesn't have the time to get through his protection. So, yeah, not only the receivers, which I think that's secondary because they are extremely deep at that position, but more so the offensive line, being able to really gauge what does his footwork look like? Is he getting through his reads? And being able to find the right guy, you need that starting offensive line to kind of get through that. And I think that more than anything else is why you're seeing him mix in with the ones to see what kind of progress he's made over these past 15 practices.
On a 4th down and 11, and down he goes. Heavy pressure right up the middle. That is Braden Swinson, the Jack linebacker. Speaking of Jack, he is jacked at 6'4", 249.
Oh, we talk about offensive line. I always felt that, receiver-wise, my second-string receivers were better than second-string DBs. But then you have to get to the second and third deep when it comes to O-line, D-line. That's when he's really starting to see defensive line take over in those situations. And we see right now, 1:55 left here in this first half. We'll see if we kind of get some kind of 2-minute drill here, see if Jaden gets in. These are the situations that you love to see. You can never, ever, ever get enough 2-minute work in as a quarterback.
I can't say enough about the format. I know when we signed on today, a lot of people saw, some special teams work and some red zone work, but this is about as close to actual game, actual scrimmage action as you're going to find in a spring game. The formats of these have really been modified to where it's sometimes a better safe than sorry mentality. I don't see a whole lot of that here today. They're letting them play.
No, they're getting after it right now. You're even seeing some backup quarterbacks, for goodness sake, getting hit a little bit. So it's full speed ahead, and right now about a minute to go, simulating high red zone area, fringe red zone. See if they'll be able to score here in the next minute before the end of halftime.
I love it. We'll get to see another drive here from Daniels. 1st and 10 from the 34 of the defense for LSU. With time, Patson fires, complete just inside the numbers at the 30 and down to about the 26-yard line. Another grab for Kyron Lacey. 9-yard pickup for the senior out of Thibodaux High School in Louisiana.
All right, I think that was a situation. Can we get one completion, get our field goal kicker a little bit more comfortable making this field goal before halftime? We're going to see if Coach Kelly on this beautiful day wants to freeze his kicker or not, make him think about it.
It'll be a 44-yard attempt by Ramos. I mentioned last year he hit a 47-yarder in the victory against the Florida Gators. Ball on the hash. Out of the hole to Bramlett. The kick is on the way, and that sails wide left. Now Ramos unable to cash in, and that'll bring us to halftime here in Baton Rouge. We will have 2 12-minute quarters on the other side. We'll take a quick timeout here. Much more to come. 2023 LSU Spring Game.
BK $6 your way deal for a limited time. It's a royal still. Burger, fries, and chicken fries all your way for a feast on the budget. Head to BK. BK, have it your way.
I'm your overly competitive brother.
Check.
Psych.
Really? Dude, that's a foul!
And now you're ready to settle a score. And if you don't have the right home insurance coverage, well, you can end up paying for all this yourself. So get Allstate.
What is up, y'all? Welcome to SEC Halftime Report. I am Peter Burns. So glad that we got football back. Well, I guess it's always football season here at the SEC. Most players selected in each of the past 16 NFL drafts. Of course, Jordan Reed projected 70 SEC players to be taken in his 7-round mock draft last week. Last season, SEC had 65 players that go and get drafted, play on Sundays, matching the most for any conference in the common draft era.
This class of quarterbacks, they each were born to take this stage. Only question is, which team believes enough to take them? The NFL Draft begins April 27th on ESPN and ABC.
Picturesque day here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the 2023 LSU spring game. Score doesn't matter much, but the individual performances do as we welcome you back inside of Death Valley. He is Aaron Murray. I am Mike Morgan. Aaron, when you talk about what we were looking for today, a lot of things on defense, certainly, running backs, wide receivers, but it all starts with the quarterback play, and it all starts with Jaden Daniels. He was outstanding in the first half.
8 and 9, 134 and a touchdown, and Garrett was great too. I mean, both quarterbacks I think have really impressed this afternoon. Their ability to push the ball vertically down the field has been the most impressive thing for Jaden. Started off red zone, first play, one-on-one with Neighbors. Throws a beautiful back shoulder fade. Get him on the move a little bit, utilize his athleticism. But really, this is it right now. Push the ball down the field. Utilize the length of these receivers, the talent of these receivers to throw the ball 15, 20-plus yards down the field. And then the pinpoint accuracy on some of these as well from him has just been absolutely perfect as we look into the stats of these quarterbacks here in the first half.
8 of 9, 134 yards and a touchdown for Daniels. Nussmeier now to be outdone, 4 of 6, 69 yards, couple of nice deep balls, and a touchdown pass as well. Both quarterbacks, both offenses looking very well in addition to the tight ends. Again, they don't have their top tight end here today in Mason Taylor, but everything clicking pretty well on offense. Sometimes these second halves of spring games, Aaron, can get a little bit choppy, but we know positional battles are still taking place. So what are you looking for in half number two?
I mean, to me, honestly, like this team right now, this looks like a Brian Kelly football team. They've come out here with a business-like mindset. It was a very well-run first half. And I don't think you'll see anything different here in the second half. 2 12-minute quarters, running clock. These guys are competing. They're having fun. I think you've seen a bunch of plays on both sides of the football. I kind of expect that here in the second half. Like I said, because of that man right there, Brian Kelly, he ain't going to take anything less than your best here this afternoon.
Brian Kelly, very upbeat and good spirits when we chatted with him earlier here at Death Valley today. And still a number of guys he'll want to see in this second half. Don't know much more of Daniels we'll see in this second half, but perhaps some more Garrett Nussmeier. We did see Ricky Collins, the true freshman, the third-string quarterback. Those are the three that have by far and away gotten the most reps this spring.
Well, I think you'll see a little bit of him and hopefully Garrett too. You know, with 12-minute quarter or 10-minute quarter, excuse me, it looks like on the clock right now, running clock, it's going to fly by. So you may get 1 or 2 more possessions for each quarterback, maybe put them in some situations you want to see. Because you got to think, this is it, man. As soon as this game's over, these guys got final exams, and then they go home for a month, and then it's summer workouts where you're not really as involved, and then you don't see them really with footballs until August. So you want to get one last peek, get them some plays, get them comfortable, get some film, and then go from there.
It's kind of the incredible shrinking second half here. We're down to 10-minute quarters, running clock, so this one will certainly go much quicker than the first half did. By the way, not to be outdone from a statistical standpoint, a number of good performances by the receiver. Kyron Lacey, 4 grabs, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Pretty good work for the senior.
Oh, great job. I mean, these receivers right now, the whole offense right now looks. Coach Denbrock, offensive coordinator, has to be pleased. And honestly, defense looked good too. This is a competitive team. And, you know, I always tell people, when you got a really good offense going against a really good defense in today's game, advantage offense. There's too many good receivers. You don't have enough DBs to be able to match up with 3, 4, 5 deep at that position, especially with a quarterback that's been as efficient as these two quarterbacks have been this afternoon. And that's why you're seeing the offense maybe have a little bit better of a day, but this is a defense still making plays on both sides. Great pick from Weeks. See some great breakups from these DBs as well.
Aaron, we've talked so much about the strengths of this LSU team in 2023, and there are a number of them. What are some of the concerns that you see for this team that beyond the spring game, people are going to be talking about in August, things that they hope that they'll be able to shore up and get better at?
Well, I think the running back position, first off, you know, they've been so banged up at running back. You want to get those guys back in camp healthy, ready to go, just so we know it's such a physical game. Offensive line depth's a little bit of a concern. We'll see if they go get some guys out of the portal as well, but great throw, great acceleration there on the outside. after the catch.
Look at this. Ibieta. Landon Ibieta, a 5'11 freshman. How about that to start things off?
Well, you put the ball in the right spot, and then you get to open field, and let's go to work. Great acceleration there. I mean, that's what happens when you got great foot from the quarterback, too. You put that in a spot where your guy can catch it, get north and south. We always talk about get north and south, get vertical. We saw the beginning of this scrimmage, little red zone one-on-one fade to the back of the end zone for the touchdown. Second half, offense out here. We talk about these guys making plays. Once again, start out with a big play to get things going.
Dybert on for the extra point, the lefty. So after the second touchdown pass thrown today by Garrett Nussmeier, some other names starting to emerge. That was way deep on the depth chart. You and I have about, what, 12 receivers listed?
All right, we talk about things that concern the fans or coach staff about LSU. Receivers are not one, so let's go back to that. I mean, depth at the offensive line, they like the freshmen that are coming in. They're hoping one of those guys, can be like Emory Jones or Will Campbell, two freshmen that played a big role last year. They're maybe hopeful that one or two guys can, crack the rotation come this season. So that's an area they got to build depth. Running backs, they got to get healthy, but that's it for offense. Quarterbacks, they feel great. Receivers, tight end, great. The defensive side, once you get Mason back at defensive tackle, what he's able to do, with those linebackers, and then the secondary they get those guys bought into the system. There's not a lot of questions, which is why, for me, honestly, you look at LSU heading into the season, Mike, I got them as the favorites to win the SEC West. I just don't see a lot of major holes on this football team right now that, I know who they are, and they're pretty darn good.
Well, and we haven't even talked about the offensive line, and they had to really force some guys into expanded roles early on in their career. But this year, those guys will now be veterans. I mean, Emory Jones, Will Campbell, Charles Turner, Miles Frazier, Garrett Dellinger. And this is an offensive line that was a big concern last year, but it could be a strength this year.
Well, it's funny talking with Denbach about the two of the freshmen from last year that are now going to be heading into the sophomore years, Emory Jones and Will Campbell. And you think those guys that played that well, that young, what would they be like heading personality-wise in the year two? And he said, man, if we had guys if every player on this football team had the work ethic and determination as those two, we would be unstoppable. He said those guys come in as humble as when they were first walking into the building, working their tails off to get better day in and day out. So, as a quarterback, knowing that my edges are secure with those two guys, I feel really, really good about that. So that's where it starts, man. You start with those two guys at the tackle position, protecting your quarterback. Miles Frazier at right guard. You got Charles Turner at center. Get him healthy, obviously. And then Garrett Dellinger at the left guard spot. And a guy they kept talking about, too, because of the fact that Charles Turner has been banged up at center, Marlon Martinez has had one of his better springs here. So you got two deep there at the center position, two guys you trust when Charles is healthy. You like them. You like the tackles. Like I said, if you get one of these incoming freshmen to take a big step this summer, you're talking about a pretty darn good offensive line.
And they've got 5 freshman offensive linemen that will come in June that they're very high on. And go back to Jones and Campbell. You're not supposed to come into the SEC as a freshman and be able to play a tackle. They really got all they could possibly ask for out of those two young men.
I mean, just go back and watch that Alabama game and see the way they handled and were able to protect the quarterback. And throughout the season, those guys just got better and more confident. It ain't easy. This defense, this league, we talk about this league is mature when it comes to quarterbacks. But one thing this league has always had is guys that can get after the quarterback, big, physical defensive ends, defensive tackles that can loop around and put you in bad situations. And, they saw a lot of football last year, played a lot of football, and that's going to pay off heading into this season.
Bramblett punting it. Clayton back to receive it. And will camp under it. Fair catch at the 30-yard line after a 40-yard kick. As we look at some of the key freshmen coming in this year, it's another highly rated recruiting class, not to mention a dozen guys in the transfer portal, which that's the biggest way I've seen this change, Aaron. Yep. Usually these spring games, we'd be talking all about those 5-star freshmen. Now we spend more time talking about the veteran guys teams pick up out of the portal, but they got the best of both worlds.
Oh, they really did get the best of both worlds because they own the state of Louisiana, but Toviano, who you've seen at the nickel spot, he's going to be a stud there. They have a lot of confidence in him and good to get him in early. Woolmack there, you got Hurd, you got Brown, you got Sampson Jr. So, yeah, they're always going to recruit well. Top 5 recruiting class heading into this season. And you know, what Coach Kelly wants to do going forward is, you know, less reliant on the portal, more, you know, true grassroots, bring guys in from the high school ranks and develop them. And, you know, that takes time. So you want to fill in the holes when you can. And, you know, they're still building depth, so they're using both the portal and the high school ranks to make that happen.
Daniels back in the game, going for Thomas. Ball was a little underthrown, but he drew the contact and multiple flags down on the field. So likely PI coming.
15 yards from the previous spot. The penalty results in a first down.
You know, to go back to our conversation, the way he talked about the portal and how you want to use it, he said, eventually we want to get to the point where we're not bringing in 12 guys, where we're just topping off the gas tank, but we're not filling it up with transfer portal guys. That's not how you build a program. That's what you have to do when you come in year 1, maybe year 2, but I would expect that number to decrease over time.
Well, that's the goal. I mean, yeah, you know, right now you come in there your first couple of years and you're figuring out, you know, because you didn't recruit a lot of these guys. You're trying to figure out who fits in your system, who truly wants to be here, who's buying into your system. So you're having a lot of guys leave here as well because, hey, you weren't the coach that recruited me. I don't know if I like what you're selling, so I'm out of here myself. So, yeah, you're having to build a lot of depth, and you got to get through those kind of hard first couple of years. Obviously not as hard for them making the SEC championship in year 1, but, yeah, the goal is, you know, in the next year or 2 to be at the point right now where, like you said, it's, hey, man, we're just a little bit low at this position. Let's go get 1 or 2 guys in the portal, and that's all we need.
Change the culture, build the depth, things that Coach Kelly talked to us about doing. Now in his second year as the head coach, as Daniel's going to tuck it and run. A lot of daylight past the 40 and out of bounds inside the 35-yard line, a 19-yard scamper. We know Jaden Daniels can do that. He ran for 885 yards, 11 touchdowns a year ago.
That's a dangerous thing right there. They drop back in coverage, just a double post action, and safety drops, linebackers drop, and you're like, okay, we did our job. Well, hey, not so fast. You got a quarterback that runs 4-4-4-5, and that's when Jaden gets really special, when things aren't open down the field. And I like that. He took his time, though. He made sure he went through 1 to 2. Nothing was there before taking off and running.
Of course, Jaden Daniels was the big signee and performer for Herman Edwards. Neat there. And accelerating down the sideline. That's the talented freshman Kyle Parker, who they have high hopes for, not only as a receiver, but in the return game as well.
You got 2 talented freshman receivers, Kyle Parker and Jalen Brown, that look the part, that have made huge strides here in the springtime. And right there, just your little mesh concept, crossing routes underneath, man-to-man coverage, and able to use his speed to get open. Nice, accurate football to be able to allow his receiver to get north from Jaden.
On first down, Daniels finds somebody wide open at the 5 and into the end zone. Touchdown. Trey Holly. We talked a lot about Trey Holly and how much they've used him as a running back. That time we got to see him as a receiver.
Oh, that was easy pickings there from Jaden. All you're doing, the safety kind of hesitated, books in the, you know, right around the hash. You know you're going to work that side, and no one gets the running back in the flat right there up the wheel route, and easy pitch and catch for the touchdown. And you can't talk enough about Jaden right now and just how he's seeing the field at the moment. It just seems like everything has slowed down, as it should. I mean, year 1, new system, new receivers. You got a quarterback competition in the offseason. You don't know if it's your job or not. There's just a lot going on. You see a guy that's confident, and he's playing like it right now.
Daniels now 10 for 11, 2 touchdowns. They'll go for 2 here on a rollout. Daniels looking, fires, complete. Brian Thomas streaking on the back line of the end zone and hauls it in for the 2-point conversion. So a successful drive for Jaden Daniels and the offense.
It's all 6'4", and that was first read in the flat right there. Defense actually does a great job of switching off the coverage. That's tough to do. They do a great job on the back end. For a lot of times for the quarterbacks, they kind of get stuck because you're expecting that receiver to pop right now. He doesn't. Jaden's able to continue to extend, run to the sidelines, and find Brian Thomas in that 6'4" flame.
You mentioned that 6'4" frame. for Brian Thomas. If he looks like a basketball player, it's because he was one. Player of the state in basketball his freshman year. Timeout here from Baton Rouge. Daniels putting on a clinic thus far. Another touchdown for Daniels, his second. I don't think you could be much more efficient than Daniels has been thus far here, and the ball has barely touched the ground.
I mean, it has been almost near perfect for him this afternoon, throwing the ball. Had a great run on that last possession as well when things went open on the double post. Like I said before the break, man, just everything seems to be slowing down for him right now. Patient in the pocket, smooth footwork, and man, does he have some pretty good guys to throw to.
What about the identity of this offense? We're going to see it now for the second year. I mean, there's so many teams now switching to 11 personnel and tempo and everything else that's been modified over the years in college football. How would you describe what they like to do at LSU?
Oh, they want to be multiple. You know, they want to be multiple in their tempos. They don't want to be, this isn't Tennessee. This isn't let's snap the ball in 15 seconds.
Right.
But we do want to dictate the tempo a little bit, so you'll see them mix that up a little bit. But they trust their quarterback. They don't want to go so fast that they don't allow Jaden to dissect, give him some options at the line of scrimmage, see what's going on, and then press play. But they're going to stick more to 11 personnel. You get Mason at tight end, and you get those receivers, so you want to get as many of those talented receivers on the field as you can.
Pitch play to the near side, outside the numbers. A gain of 5 yards for Malachi Lane. He's a sophomore out of Spring Branch, Texas. Former walk-on Malachi Lane. Talked about the LSU schedule early on. Now, they're going to spend a number of weekends away from home in the early going. Of course, they start off a neutral site game, a rematch against the Florida State Seminoles. That'll be in Orlando. Technically, that's a 50-50 ticket split, although Florida State fans might gobble up a few more, being just a few hours away from Tallahassee. This one coming toward us and will fall incomplete. Got a chance to implement the back pedal there, Aaron. But as you look at the schedule, after you get through the Florida State game, and if somehow that they win that game, you've got Grambling, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Auburn, Army. They're going to be favored in all those games. You somehow pull off a win against the Seminoles, you could be undefeated against Alabama.
Let's be careful with the tone of somehow pull off a win there, because I think they're just as good as FSU, if not more talented than FSU. So
I think it's a pick-em game, don't you?
Yeah, I do think it's a pick-em game. Two top 10 quarterbacks in that game. And then Florida State returns a lot, and maybe the favorite in a lot of people's minds, in my mind, to win the ACC. So it's going to be a great matchup between those two. But, yeah, once you get through that game, the West is not as daunting as it's been in years past. And, the back end of the schedule, once you do get through Tuscaloosa, is very, 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 very favorable for them to hopefully make another run in the SEC, getting to Atlanta.
Another game I bet they have circled here, November the 25th. That will be right here at Death Valley. A rematch against Texas A&M. A tough loss last year against the Aggies. They'll be out for blood in that one.
Yeah, and that's a game you kind of look at last year. It's like, were they looking ahead a little bit? Were they kind of looking to the SEC championship? Did they get caught sleeping? And, it's also a depth concern. You get worn out towards the end of the season. It's a long year in this league, and they feel like they're depth-wise in a better spot to, not survive a 12-game schedule, but to essentially thrive there in November and December.
Collins, after the ball hit the ground on the snap, picked it up and ran. Quincy Wiggins, a 6'6", 265-pound freshman on the tackle.
This is great reps for these young guys to get out there and get some live action. It's all about getting tape for these freshmen, mid-years, transfers, third-string guys. You want to move up the depth chart, this is the best time to do it in a situation like this, live tackling.
Final 6 minutes and change here in this game. We were hoping to chat with one of the all-time greats in LSU history, Joe Burrow, who is here today, but he's not on the field. He's enjoying life in the suites.
I tell you what, the sweet life is good, and calling a game simply is good.
Yeah.
But being on the field, man, this is fun. This is a fun way to call the game.
This is fantastic. If we could have it 78 degrees with a breeze every week, I'd say we do this. Scrap the suit and tie, wear polos, and call the games from the field. It might have been Jamar Chase standing next to Joe Burrow up there in the suite. Those two, of course, have combined for a whole lot of touchdowns and yards, not just here in Baton Rouge, but also with the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow's about to be a very, very wealthy man after some of the contracts that have just been done in the NFL.
Yeah, he's licking his chops after seeing Jalen get, what was it, $170, $180 million guaranteed, mid-200s over the life of the contract, knowing that Joe Burrow's probably a top 2 quarterback in the NFL right now, and his time's next to get one of these mega deals.
Collins scrambling, and Collins turning on the Jets before being wrapped up from behind by Marcion, Seth Marcion, but a 14-yard gain for the freshman Ricky Collins.
You know, it's interesting. I just thought this right now. New rule, first downs, no longer clock stoppage. Play like that, clock's going to continue to run right now. Heading into next year, clock will stop. Clock will stop second quarter, fourth quarter, you know, towards the end of those quarters still for the quarterbacks. But normal D&D, normal timing of the game, clock will no longer start.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I love it.
Do you really?
Speed up the game, man. Some of these games are way too long. Any way you can do to speed them up, bring it on.
Boy, we can hear the pads popping as we're just 5 yards away from that reception by McGowan, the freshman tight end. See some of the rule changes in college football, and again, all of them with the purpose of speeding the games up. I certainly will not miss back-to-back timeouts called. I don't think any of us will miss that. And one thing to note about the rule change of not stopping the clock after a first down, they will do it in the final 2 minutes of the half. So you'll still have some strategy involved with that, which I think makes the college game unique. Got George Hamsley now in at quarterback, and Hamsley scooping up a snap on the ground. And George Hamsley, a sophomore out of Memphis, Tennessee, did not play at all last year, a walk-on. Final 3 minutes and change of this spring game. Penalty flag on that last snap, and they'll back up the offense. We got a lot out of this game. I'm really impressed with the way they ran this. You kind of get out of a spring game what you put into it. Some coaches are just so worried about injuries that they really don't put much into these games. I think today, if you're Brian Kelly, you got to see a lot.
Oh, if I'm Brian Kelly, I'm having a nice steak dinner tonight, maybe a glass of wine, and say that was a win today.
Yeah.
I saw some great competition. Saw some guys get after it, make plays on both sides, well run. You see a team that's fighting. This is, if this team won the SEC West last year and they're this much better heading into this season, man, a lot of people walking out of this building, this stadium today are going to say this could be a special year for the Tigers.
10 wins a year ago with a new coaching staff, with injuries. Mentioned the tough loss to Florida State that caused all types of conversation on social media, which all now looks rather silly when you think about it. And this squad should only be better, really, on both sides of the ball. On second down, almost intercepted. Intended for Kyle Parker.
Great
Kobe
break
Williams
on
the coverage.
Yeah, I'm going to say Kobe Williams, great break on the ball. Just a little bit too much of a hitch from the quarterback there. Got to get feet in the ground, get the ball out a little bit earlier. Well, you are seeing a little bit here from the third string center too. Is a lot of these balls are a little bit low. We talk about what's the difference and why they wanted to get the quarterbacks in different situations with the offensive line. A lot of times the centers too, you know, a little bit inaccurate with getting the ball to the quarterback. You have to bend over, throws your footwork off a little bit and your vision as well.
Collins back in at quarterback. Out of the belly of 36, Nick Demas, the redshirt junior out of Westfield, Indiana. You'll see some players from the Midwest, maybe more than usual, with all the connections Coach Kelly has during his 12 years at Notre Dame. One thing he told us about loving this job is that I barely have to leave Louisiana. Everybody here wants to play for LSU. At Notre Dame, he had to go to 50 different states and try to convince kids to come to South Bend. That's not the case here.
You walk around this state and you give some kid a scholarship to LSU, 9 out of 10 times he's going to say, where's the paper? Let me sign up right now. It's just very few states have what LSU has when it comes to owning your state, when it comes to recruiting, putting a nice big fence around it and saying we're going to get the majority of these top guys here to stay home.
Ramos on for a 34-yard attempt, and this one is good. LSU would miss the last 2 field goal attempts, but Ramos drills it from 34, and I believe that might be the final play of this spring game. Good way to close it out on a made field goal, some nice plays. We'll try to get Brian Kelly before we sign off here from Death Valley, get some of his thoughts. But I would imagine, Aaron, he'd have to be a pretty happy camper with what he saw today.
Oh, he could not have asked for a better day. And, you know, I know the guys, maybe a couple guys ticked up here or there, but a pretty healthy team heading after this. A couple of positions we had about with the running backs that got to get healthier during this offseason. But right now, this team feels like, you know, they're in a good spot health-wise. It's always what you want to do when you get out of spring. Did we get better? Did we stay healthy? Check, check. And also, did we compete? And I think this is a team that has really done everything that he wants them to do over these 15 days. Now it's, hey, man, be smart over the next month and then get ready to get back to the work in the weight room come this summertime to get ready for fall camp.
You don't have definitive statements that come out of a spring game, but I would have to say if there were any questions whether or not Jaden Daniels could be better in year 2 in Baton Rouge after a very successful year 1. I think we're seeing glimpses of that already.
10 and 11, 2 touchdowns today. Garrett as well played extremely well. And it's just the efficiency of the footwork in their eyes and then the understanding of what the offense is and what the coaches want from them too. You know, now you get to the really nitty-gritty of these offenses and the plays. It's not just, you know, drawings on a piece of paper and let me go out there and execute. Why am I calling the play? What's it for? How does it work versus various coverages? Now these guys have seen a year's worth of that by watching the tape. Now they're going out there and executing at a higher level, and you saw that this afternoon.
Nussmeier also with 2 touchdown passes. I think a lot of people want to know what that young man is all about. He clearly comes in number 2 on the depth chart, but they certainly have a guy, if for any reason they need to go to the backup quarterback, they feel awfully good about it.
Oh, I would too. You know, listen, he came in there, I think, getting a lot of confidence versus Georgia in that SEC championship game of, hey, man, I can go against one of the best defenses in this league and play at a high level. He did that and definitely got a lot better during the spring too. So, yeah, you feel good just in case, knock on wood, never want to happen, but just in case that you got number 2 ready to go at any time.
Ton of wide receivers played well. Again, they've got a very deep and talented wide receiver room. We didn't get a great indication of what the running back stable is going to look like because most of them not able to play in this game. That'll be maybe the only lingering question about the offense. Who's going to be the bell cow? Who's going to be the guy that when you need that key run, you know you're going to give him the rock? We're walking around and hoping to get some closing comments from Coach Kelly. He's walking toward us now and will join us here momentarily. Coach, how you feeling?
Injury-free.
Yep.
Hey. Beautiful day. The guys competed, right? So you don't want this to look like a practice, even though early on we got some work done in special teams and some short yardage stuff. But I thought the quarterbacks, were sharp. I thought defensively we had some guys making plays. So, when you try to evaluate a spring game, you want to stay healthy and you want to look sharp in the areas, and I thought we did.
Yeah, I would say probably one of the smoothest games I've seen and very efficient on both sides. Goes to all the work you guys have done building that culture. What's next now for this team over the next few months?
Well, look, first of all, these guys got to get academically, they're worked on, all of that. But we still have a couple of weeks before we go into discretionary time. So they'll have some work in the weight room. And then it's active rest for May, and then get after it in June. So, as I told them, no longer are we going to sneak up on anybody. We're the SEC West champs. So, and everybody now is got their eye towards LSU. So, make sure you take that into your training.
Coach, one thing that I know you were looking at coming in was the secondary. Got a lot of work today against 2 talented quarterbacks. How'd you feel about their performance?
I thought the corners were really good. I mean, look, we've got outstanding receivers, so it's iron sharpening iron out there. We got to tackle better at the safety position, and that's an area that we're going to have to continue to develop the ball got into the second level, and it's got to get down on the ground. And that probably, if there's one critique, we got to get the ball on the ground when it breaks into the second level.
Right now, this feeling you have today after this game, talk about how efficient it was. Put yourself back last year, this spring, this time. How do you feel different?
Well, I think they know, how to win games. Like, look, you got to play mistake-free. We had one penalty, really, with the second group. And they understand that, look, the little things matter. And I think that they understand how that, at the end of the day, if you can get yourself to the fourth quarter with a belief that you're going to win games, you got a chance to win. And so if you eliminate all the little things, the mistakes, self-inflicted wounds, if you will, you got a chance to win football games.
Coach, you brought us great weather, entertaining game. We thank you for the hospitality.
Yep.
Look forward to seeing you in the regular season.
You guys are welcome. We got a crawfish boil after, of course. You can't have a crawfish boil, and you can't come to a Louisiana event and not have a crawfish boil. So you guys are certainly welcome.
Appreciate it, Coach.
I love it. Thank you, Coach, very much. Appreciate it. Coach Brian Kelly, at the conclusion of the 2023 spring football game. Aaron, we came, we saw, we learned a lot. As always, a pleasure working with you, and I think if you're an LSU fan and you watch today, you come away with a lot of good feelings.
Yeah, you feel great about this team heading in as they look to defend the SEC West, the championship from last year, and now it's, can we go win it? And you look at the talent on this team this season, no reason why they can't compete to win the whole thing.
A lot of strengths and not many weaknesses for LSU football in 2023. 10 wins a year ago, perhaps even more this season. That'll do it for us. For Aaron Murray and our entire SEC Network crew, Mike Morgan saying so long. Enjoy the regular season, everybody.